I got the message. It's live streaming. Does that mean it's recording at the same time? Oh, there it is. That's
Now we're ready to go. Thank
okay.
you.
Perfect. All right. For the record, it's March 14th, 2024, 10 o'clock a.m. I'm Phil Alberg's hearing examiner for the city of Lacey. We have a hearing this morning to consider applications for a conditional use permit and a wetlands permit for a sewer lift station number 6. The hearing format will be, we'll start off presentation from staff, and I take it, Mr. Fent, that's you, who will give us an overview of the project. Am I pronouncing your last name right? Is it Fent?
Fant, yeah, correct.
Okay, good. All right. And mine's a lot worse, so that's all right. And then after Mr. Fant's done, we'll move on to applicant comments if they want to say anything. And I realize this is Mr. Fant, are you going to be covering the applicant comments as well, or since city
Anything
project?
from the applicant will be Guggenbrar, and he'll be able to handle staff comments or
Oh,
for applicant comments, excuse me.
okay. All right. And then after city comments, we'll move on to public comments. And do we have any members of the public participating today? Can you tell?
Looks like we have three members of the public in the council chambers.
Oh, oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we'll make sure that members of the public will have an opportunity to speak once we get to that portion of the hearing. We'll let you know how you can be heard. Once the public comments are done, we'll move back to Mr. Fant to answer any questions and provide rebuttal evidence, and then applicants from the Public Works Department gets the final word. So with that, let me see, Mr. Fant, I don't recall, is there an exhibit list in your staff report at the end, or let me see.
I believe I sent you the exhibit list as a Word document. That
Oh,
way,
I
if
see.
any new exhibits
Okay.
come in, you're able to edit.
All right. Is that so? Can you flash the exhibits list on the screen?
Let's
See if
see.
I can find it.
Give me just one moment.
See, I'll look for it too.
There we go. All right.
I think I have it. Oh, I've got it. Here, I can
Oh,
do it.
perfect. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. All right. Let me share my screen. And hopefully it's the right project. I think it is. Yep. Okay. All right. So there's the exhibit list. This is the documents that Mr. Fant sent me ahead of the hearing. He wanted me to review these for the hearing today. It's composed of his staff report, the applications for the permits, the environmental review. That's where a determination is made whether an environmental impact statement is necessary or not. In this case, it was determined not, no EIS required. Our worst report, which assesses impacts to trees, the environmental mitigation that was involved with the project, the landscaping that was addressed, impacts to wetlands that are addressed in a few documents, and a stormwater report, as well as agency comments and public notices. So at this point, I just want to ask if anyone has any objection to entry of these documents in the record or needs to see them. If you need to see them or object, just raise your virtual hand if you're participating virtually. There should be a little yellow raise hand button at the bottom of your screen, or if you're in the council chambers, just wave your arms and someone in the chambers will let me know that you've got a problem with these documents. Okay, and I'm not seeing any objections or hearing any, so I'll go ahead and enter exhibits 1 through 16. So at this point, Mr. Fan, I'll swear you in. Just raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, nothing but the truth in this proceeding?
I do.
Okay, great. Go ahead.
All right. Well, good morning, everyone. I will dive into my staff report, kind of give a general overview, as mentioned, of what the project entails, what it's seeking to do, and some of the process that it's gone through to do that. A description of the proposal is the project includes a rehabilitation of a roughly combined 0.12 acre site. It is a lift station involving the removal, replacement, or relocation of both above and below grade infrastructure. This project, the city of Lacey aims to enhance the reliability of lift station 6 in response to projected water pumping needs, aligning with the city's broader initiative to upgrade existing lift stations. The project includes the removal of current sewer lift stations, valve vault, and associated structures, along with the replacement of the water meter, wash hydrant, and water service. Additional upgrades include the replacement of the electrical panel, mechanical and electrical equipment, sewer manhole, diesel-powered emergency standby generator. It also includes the conversion of existing offline storage structure into the new wet well, featuring a duplex submersible station equipped with constant speed controls. So a little in the weeds on that, but essentially it'll be upgrading the site to a more reliable form. Additional work on site includes on-site roadway grading, resurfacing, and installation of a chain link fence and a security gate, a new force main, into the replacement of the water line on 32nd Court, and that begins to carry on into a separate project outside of this that Public Works will be undertaking. A conditional use permit is required because the lift station is classified as an essential public facility. As a result, it must go through this quasi-judicial permitting process. In addition to the CUP, a wetland development application is required due to the fact that the entirety of the site is within a wetland buffer. It is required for project, it's category 2 wetland, which is adjacent to Hicks Lake. The size of the project is roughly 2,500 square feet. That includes everything taking place on the site throughout the history or throughout the process of the project. As mentioned, it's a 0.12 acre site. It spans across 2 parcels, a larger skinny parcel, which the drive access is on and most of the new equipment, and a smaller parcel to the southeast, which at the moment contains a majority of the current existing stormwater facility. The project and its surrounding uses, the zone is located in a low density zone. The surrounding parcels, the zoning of the north of the project is low density residential. To the east of the project is a single family home that is split zone, low density and natural. The south of the project is natural and open space. Natural refers to natural shoreline designation. Open space is our open space institutional zone, and to the east is another single family home that is zoned low density. And lastly, there is both open space institutional and natural shoreline zoning to the east of the project. Access to the site is going to utilize the current existing access off of 32nd. With regards to environmental evaluation, as mentioned with the exhibit list, a determination of non-significance was issued for the site on October 20th, 2023. That was issued after the optional notice for determination of non-significance. The SEPA review was routed with the original notice of application of the project. It ran in conjunction with the project. The determination of non-significance, let's see here. The comment period of it, okay. So it was issued the optional NOA on October 20th. The comment period ended on September 22nd and received comments from Department of Ecology on the project. These comments were in regards to toxic cleanups and things of that nature. Those are general comments that we receive from Department of Ecology. If these elements are found on a site, then they are expected to be cleaned and replaced with clean fill. No out of standard comments were received from Ecology on this. We'll skip past the goals and policies here as it's a bit lengthy. All right. So diving into the department analysis of the project. In review of this proposal, it is important to consider the goals and policies of the comprehensive plan, requiring the findings, general provisions, and conditional use of a wetland protection ordinances of the Lacey Municipal Code. Staff has reviewed the materials in light of the comp plan and city codes and offer the following items for analysis and discussion. Pursuant to the Lacey Municipal Code 1666, conditional uses, permits, sanitary sewer lift stations are considered public utility and are allowed to be cited in any zoning district through the conditional use permit process, as we mentioned before, with the essential public facility. The intent of allowing uses by conditional use permit is to allow an opportunity to locate certain types of uses and services that facilitate in facilities that, because of their unique characteristics, cannot or should not sometimes be limited to specific land use classification districts. One element of the conditional use process to consider, especially in a case like this, is that conditional uses permits allow the process to allow modifications to certain zoning districts where warranted. Some of these alterations include the size and shape of lots with regards to minimum area, width, depth, things of that nature, maximum building coverage, maximum development coverage, off-street parking, and landscaping, buffering, and screening. With relation to this site in particular, one of those elements that is being requested for utilization is going to be the alteration of landscape criteria that would generally fall into a project. Typically, a 15-foot type 1 landscape buffer is required to screen a project like this between its surrounding uses. However, due to site constraints, if the 15-foot buffer were to be used, it would make development of the site for the proposed continued use incredibly difficult. 15-foot buffer on each side of the drive throat would almost make it inaccessible to the maintenance vehicles. With regards to compatibility of the surrounding area, this isn't a new project in the sense that it's a new use on the site. It has been a lift station for many years. Public Works staff may be able to touch on that for exact dates on how long it's been in service. However, with the lift station comes, some questions on how is this going to meld with the surrounding areas, specifically single-family homes. The sanitary sewer lift station is expected to have minimal impact on the surrounding area. Noise levels on site will be limited to maintenance visits, routine servicing, and occasional generator testing during power outages to ensure compliance with noise standards outlined in our Lacey Municipal Code 1657 environmental performance standards. Regarding odor control, when the lift station functions as designed and waste moves through the facility, odors are typically not a concern. The current lift station has a track record of no odor-related issues, and all stations within the city of Lacey must adhere to the design standards outlined in the city development guidelines. Approval of the facility will enable the city to upgrade the existing infrastructure serving this specific area. Anticipated impacts to the surrounding environment mainly stem from routine maintenance occurring monthly as needed. Now kind of diving into the wetland identification and protection and mitigation, the second half of this permitting process here. The necessity for the application to submit a wetland development permit application arises from the anticipated impact on the buffer of a Category 2 wetland. Specifically, new impervious surface is projected to affect an estimated 680 square feet of the buffer zone. In the ensuing analysis, we will delve into the implications of the development and explore potential ecological consequences. ESA biologist, ESA being the name of the firm, delineated a wetland using established industry methods, relying on three main criteria: prevalence of a wetland and wetlands plant species, the presence of hydric soils, and indication of wetland hydrology. The assessment of the wetland and wetland score gave it a score of 7, necessitating a 150-foot buffer in the absence of any mitigation measures, or 110-foot buffer with mitigation intended mitigation. The project proposal does fall under regulated activities based on our Lacey Municipal Codes 1428 110, which describes any activities in a wetland buffer zone as removal, excavation, grading, or dredging of soils, sand, minerals, dumping or discharge of filling of any material, draining, flooding, disturbing of water level, driving of pilings, placing of obstructions, the construction, reconstruction, demolition, or expansion of any structure, the destruction or alteration of wetlands, and activities that result in a significant change in water temperature. Specifically in this regard, we're not looking for any destruction of anything, but rather the reconstruction, demo, and construction of a new lift station. 1428-350 further states that regulated activities, special uses shall not be authorized in a wetland except where they can be demonstrated that the impact is both unavoidable and necessary, that or all reasonable economic uses are denied. That section further clarifies in subsection C that respect to category 2 wetlands where non-water dependent activities are proposed, it shall be presumed that adverse impacts are avoidable. The presumption may be rebuted upon demonstration that the basic project cannot reasonably be accomplished by utilizing one or more sites in the general region. The reduction in size, scope, configuration, or density of the project proposed and alternative designs as proposed would avoid or result in less adverse impact on regulated wetland or its buffer to accomplish the basic purpose of the project. And in cases where the applicant has rejected alternatives to the proposed due to constraints such as zoning, deficiencies of infrastructure, or parcel size. The applicant acknowledges that while there are no plans to fill or remove anything within the regulated category 2 wetland, the project cannot avoid affecting the wetland buffer, which covers the entire existing lift station parcel. Exploring alternative sites outside of the buffer was deemed impractical because lift station number 6 is integral to a larger wastewater system, and there are no city-owned parcels nearby suitable for utility purposes. And in the staff's assessment, this proposal aligns with the aforementioned provisions, given the wetland's immediate adjacency to the site and the entire site falling within the wetland buffer. Efforts will be made to minimize and address the wetland during construction. Efforts include protective measures such as siltation curtains, scheduling the regulated activity to avoid interference with wildlife and fisheries, rearing, resting, and nesting and spawning activities. To mitigate the impacts on the wetland buffer, the project will decommission and consolidate the lift station apertures, thereby minimizing long-term effects on the buffer. Additionally, the initiative includes restoring a section of the current buffer currently covered in pavement, amounting to approximately 265 square feet. The calculation of the mitigation area involves subtracting the permanent wetland buffer credit, that 265 feet, from the permanent wetland impact of the 680 square feet total of new changes. Applying a 1.2 to 1 mitigation ratio to the sum. This results in 498 square feet of mitigation planting. The minimum required planting area encompasses the mitigation of 415 feet impervious area with that 1.21 to 1 ratio. The total minimum replanting area calculated doing the 415 square feet times 1.2 plus the 265 square foot credit comes down to approximately 763 square feet required of replanting. And according to figure 5 of exhibit 8 in the exhibit list, the applicant proposes to mitigate and restore a total of 823 square feet of wetland buffer. And kind of going on to a summary of our analysis, staff finds that the proposed conditional use permit and wetland development permits are consistent with the city's comprehensive development plan, the city zoning code, and other applicable codes and regulations, provided the conditions recommended below. And I don't think, Phil, do you want me to dive into those conditions at all?
No, that's fine. Yeah, I can.
Okay,
I can
all right.
do this. Yeah, I'm good.
That kind of rounds out staff, just the overview of the project, a little bit deeper than intended, but.
No, that's good. A couple of questions. One is a code question. I noticed that the critical areas report as a code basis for developing in a wetland buffer cited 1428-120H, which authorizes utility work in a buffer if it's within a right of way and doesn't expand the building footprint. Is that is this within right of way, and doesn't this involve an expansion because it involves added impervious surface? Or does it boil down to the fact that staff actually didn't use that provision and used 350 instead?
That may be the case. It's not within a right of way. I can confirm that.
Okay. And 350 is a little interesting. So is that used instead? Most critical area ordinances have a reasonable use provision or a variance provision. Is 350 essentially Lacey's reasonable use process, or how does that work? Who gets to use that provision? Is it just for utilities, or?
No, as far as I'm aware, that would be our reasonable use provision.
Oh, okay.
So if this were like a single family lot per se, and they were looking to develop, and they couldn't do their single family home. They would look for that reasonable use for economic viability of the site.
And that would be the 350, is that what you're saying, or is that a separate provision?
As far as I am aware, and I can double check that here.
I was just curious. Yeah, I can look at your code, but
Okay.
yeah, it's a little different. And then just and maybe Public Works has better knowledge about this. I mean, what kind of noise is produced by this, and is this going to be less noise than the last one? Usually, when you see a new facility, it tends to get better at those at noise mitigation.
Yeah, I can defer to Guggen on that one.
Okay, all right.
Good
And
morning. Yeah, I
good
can. My name
morning,
is Gagan
Mr.
Brar.
Barr. Let me swear you in. Just raise your right hand. You swear affirm to tell the truth, nothing but the truth in this proceeding.
Yes.
And your last name is spelled B-R-A-R for the record, is that
Yeah.
correct? Okay, great.
Brar. Yep.
All right.
So yeah, I'm Gagan Brar. I'm the project manager. The previous project manager, Puna Clark, she left, and that's how this project fell into my lap. And I also have Brian Casey, who's our consultant on this project, and Brian has been involved from the beginning, from the conception of this project. But regarding the noise issue, so the new generator is going to be smaller than the current generator out there, and it's going to produce way less noise than the current generator.
Okay, good to know. Anything else you want to add on the application?
Not at the moment, but
Okay.
if there's a question, I can, yeah.
Okay, sounds good. All right, well, let's move on to public comments at this point. And from what I heard, there's some people actually in the meeting room. Is there anyone out there who wanted to speak out in the meeting room? And I guess we have staff out there that can direct people to the microphone, right?
Do we need to go?
No, it takes you.
Oh, okay. This is Retha Dotson, and I'm the property owner, my husband and I, on the 5609. So we
Okay,
are,
let me swear you in, Ms. Dotson. Just raise your right hand. Do you swear affirm to tell the truth, nothing but the truth in this proceeding?
I do.
And how do you spell your last name for the record?
Dotson.
Okay, perfect. All right, go ahead.
So one of the things that Mr. Font mentioned that I picked up on is he talked about the pump station and the lift station not producing any odors. And we would disagree with that. And we've even talked to City of Lacey folks at times where we're like, we've noticed some odors and fairly strong at times. And the folks were, they talked about this project. So we did want to make sure on the record that there are odor issues at times with the pump station. Yeah, usually it's in the summertime.
Okay. Okay, that's good to know. Yeah, I'll let Mr. Brar respond to that when we get back to staff comments. And did you have any other comments you wanted to make?
Well, I guess we've been working with Guggen in regards to our property versus the pump station property. It seems to have arisen that the fence that when I bought the place back in 94, the fence has is on the city's property. From what we just had, the City of Lacey had the surveyors out and they surveyed it and stuff. So that's something, we're concerned about, and we're working with Guggen on, what we're gonna do in regards to adjusting the fence. And we've got plants and stuff there. So
Also, is this your fence then you're talking about?
it was a fence that was there when I purchased the property back in 94. So yes, it is our fence.
Oh, I see. Okay, okay. And so it sounds like maybe the city is saying that part of your property is encroaching on the city property ultimately. Is that the concern?
Yes.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, that just
Okay.
came to light. We thought that there was just a corner of the fence that was over. And come to find out, it sounds like the whole side running parallel with the tract is over.
Oh, okay, okay.
So-
All right. Anything else from out in the conference room there?
Just yeah, with the, you talked about the environmental impact with the wetlands. We do have wood ducks back there and mallards back there and a bunch of wildlife, birds and stuff. And saw a big change when the city did the project back in 94, 92 with the wetland area. We used to have bass in the pond and a lot of more wildlife, otters and such. And since that project, I've noticed a big reduction in the wildlife. We don't see fish in there anymore. And so that's a concern for me is, you know, habitat maintenance and stuff.
Okay, all right, I'll let, staff respond to all that. Okay, anyone else want to say anything on this project? Do we have anybody
also have a
online
comment.
who can speak? Sorry?
I have a comment. My name is
Oh.
Mike Ricky. I'm Retha's husband.
Okay, let me swear you in, sir. Do you swear affirm, tell the truth, nothing but the truth in this proceeding?
Yes, I do.
And what was your last name?
Ricky, Rickey.
Okay, great, go ahead.
First is Mike. Just a couple, it's probably in your guys' plans. Tree number 1 with their identified 4 trees. Was tree number 1 still scheduled to have the existing dead limbs and stuff in it cleaned up and the tree shaped up so they get all those potential hazards out of it? We had talked earlier on during the project discussions out there, and that was a plan.
Okay, yeah, I'll let staff answer your questions once it's their turn again. Did you have any other questions?
Also, along the back of the pump station property in the wetland, there was discussion one time about putting some type of piling in there to stabilize that shoreline. Is that still an option, or has that been removed?
Okay,
The reason I ask is if it's some type of like sheet piling, or if they're gonna be pile driving or something, there would be concern with the adjacent properties there with vibrations from work like that. So I was curious if that was still an option or not.
okay. Anything else?
And then there was talk about the landscaping around the location of the pump station. Our backyard is right adjacent to the pump station. It's right in view next to us. So we were hoping that could be some type of a visual barrier that would be put in place there between our property and the pump station. I mean, we've been back there in the morning, enjoying a quiet morning, and nothing against your guys. They gotta do their work, and here comes the big truck and all the activity, and it's virtually on the deck with us because it's that close.
Okay, and sir, what's
So
your
we were
address?
hoping for some type of a visual buffer that could
Okay.
be included.
And sir, what's your address? So I kind of know,
5609, we're right east of the pump station.
Oh, that's
We're
right here.
the
Ms.
property
Todd mentioned
adjacent to that.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Anything else?
And then there's also,
Keep the dreams in.
there was also plans in the cul-de-sac. They're gonna put some additional storm drains in there. So I believe that's still in there. We talked with Geigen regarding that. Cause our concern is, our driveway, there used to be a kind of a curbing in front, and that's deteriorated a lot. So when we get a heavy rain, we get a good amount of sheet water comes on our driveway and causes some minor little water intrusion into our garage. So we're hoping that would be the additional 2 drains and maybe redo that curbing around in front of our driveway to help mitigate any water coming in on our area there.
Okay.
Okay, and then I believe that's about all I have. Oh, and then there's also the ongoing discussion about the trees 2, 3, and 4. We know tree 2 is gonna be scheduled for removal. That's the fork top cedar. And then there's also ongoing discussion about a new retaining wall that's gonna be installed into any potential impacts to the other 2 trees, 3 and 4. So I know that's probably more of a field discussion as that progresses. But I just wanted to make that point clear that, you know, there is some concerns with those trees in that area there. That's all I have for now.
Okay, all right. Anybody
you.
else in the, did anyone else want to speak out there in the,
Yeah, I'm Michael Dobbins back. I have 5605.
okay, sir, let me swear you in. Just raise your right hand. You swear affirm, tell the truth, nothing but the truth in this proceeding?
Yep.
And could you spell your last name for the record?
Michael Dobbins back, spelled Daubenspec.
Okay, great. Go ahead.
You bet. Yeah, I'm the property that has trees 2, 3, and 4. Anyway, yeah, I am concerned about number 3 and 4 with number 2 being taken out and then how they'll be affected, of course. But as Mike said, that's more of a field discussion as time goes on. We take down number 2, and we will see what happens with the other 2. Another concern is like I said, you were talking about vibration. Vibration is a serious deal because I have a hillside that's temperamental or it's actually was passed with a 1-to-1 slope instead of a which was, I don't know what code was back in '83, but it's not acceptable now. So vibration is a concern. Second thing is actually, I guess it'd be third thing would be the water and the drainage currently comes down that property or the pump lift station property and goes into my backyard, creating a wetlands or a pond out of it. So, you know, I would like to see some kind of drainage made to it. Yeah, system, you know, to where it keeps it out of the yard. Because it's quite substantial, because if it's come, like Mike said, if it comes down the street, it's going right down that road there or into his driveway. That's basically it for me.
Okay, thank you, sir. Anyone else in the conference room?
Yeah, my name is Tim Rocket, Rockett, and I
Okay,
live
Mr. Rocket,
at
let me swear you in.
5606.
Oh, great. Okay, let me swear you in. Just raise your right hand. Do you swear firm, tell the truth, nothing but the truth in this proceeding?
I do.
Okay, great. Go ahead.
My concern, I live across the street from the easement there, and my direct concern has been whether the trees, if they went down in a windstorm, would reach my house. And I asked a question about the one tree, I can't tell you the number, 3, I guess, that I wanted the height of that. I know in the arborist report, they said 120 feet, but I don't know whether he just looked at it and said that's 120 feet, or if he did kind of the standard arborist measurement, which would be reasonable. The other concern I have with them taking out tree number 2 is going to not only, I understand they're going to leave the stump in, but those trees are going to be more vulnerable because the canopy's altered, and that's a concern to all of us in the neighborhood. I'm the least affected. Both Retha and Mike and then Michael are all in line if those, depending on which direction the trees went. And it's pretty well known, and it wasn't, as far as I know, spoken to, that if you take out part of the canopy, the rest of the trees become vulnerable. And I would just observe this last week up further north, there were trees taken out, and the mobile homes took the brunt of that, with several trees going down because the canopy was changed. So that's my concern. I would like to see all 3 trees down, but.
Okay. All right. Thank you, sir. And Mr. Font, do we have anybody online that wants to say anything? Can you tell or?
Let's see. I may be able to touch on some of these issues, at least.
No, I'm asking about if there's anyone online
Oh,
who wants
gotcha.
to testify at this point. I don't see any. If anyone online wants to say something, just click at the yellow raise hand button at the bottom of your screen.
I think
Okay,
the only
not seeing any
attendees
takers.
are staff.
Okay, all right. Well, I will say if someone is online and is trying to be heard and can't, you know, because you can't figure out how to make yourself visible or whatever, just go ahead and send an email to Mr. Fant, get that to him by 5 o'clock tomorrow. And if anything comes in and that way, I'll allow staff and applicant to respond to it. That's only if you've been unable to be heard today. So because of technical problems or that kind of thing. So, all right, let's move on. And Mr. Fant, yeah, you were about ready to start answering some of those questions. I imagine Mr. Brower is going to handle most of them, but if there's anything you can address first, go at it.
First thing, when it comes to Mr. Ricky's concerns with the cul-de-sac and drainage on that issue, I I believe, and Guggen will touch upon it in more depth, but that is going to be running concurrently with this project, but it is a separate project within the Public Works Department. So it wouldn't quite relate to the improvements on site with the lift station. So just wanted to touch on that. With regards to the other elements, I think it would probably be best for Guggen to talk about it since it's a little bit more technical on the public works side.
Okay, so yeah, Mr. Brewer got a long list here, so I'll let you get started. If you miss anything, I'll chime in when
Sure.
you're done.
Yeah, so please let me know if I missed any questions. But I just want to clarify on what Reese mentioned, that this is both the offsite improvements and onsite improvements are one single project. So we'll be putting in wastewater water lines in the 32nd court right away. And so I want to touch on Mrs. Dotson and Mike's concern about the drainage and the stormwater catch basin that we're putting in. So yeah, that we're gonna fix the right of way, and all of their concerns will be addressed, and we're putting additional catch basin to alleviate the flooding issues that's happening out there. And we're gonna connect that new catch basin to the existing stormwater conveyance system that's conveying drainage back to the buffer, into the buffer. And just to stay on the same drainage issue, I want to address Michael Dobbin's concern about regrading the site in such a way that lift station stormwater doesn't come onto his property or Retha and Mike's property. So we are actually we have that in our drainage plan that we'll be retaining most of our stormwater on our site and conveying that to the new drainage conveyance on our site back to the existing outfall into the buffer zone. So that's on the drainage issue. The next item that I remember is about the odor issue, which I wasn't aware of, but I just wanted to make sure that the property owners should know that the city of Lacey takes odor issues seriously. We have a whole odor control program. So if in the future, and all these new lift stations, and Brian can also talk on this a little bit, but all these new lift stations that's one of the reasons also we're trying to retrofit all these new lift stations to make them more robust. And all of our new lift stations, they are really efficient in controlling odor. So if and I'm not sure how often Retha and her husband are experiencing this odor issues, but I just want to let them know that our wastewater operations staff take this very seriously. So if any issues, please feel free to give me a call, send me an email, and we'll work with you guys to alleviate those odor issues. So let me see. So the next thing I want to address is the trees issue. So on the trees issues, all these trees are all tree based on the arborist report. Tree number 1, tree number 3 and 4 are on both Retha and Michael Dobbin-Speck's property. Tree number 2 is kind of interesting. It's half of the tree, and number 2 is on our property and half on Michael Dobbin-Speck's property. So that's where we're putting the fence to delineate the property boundary line, and we're putting the fence right at the property boundary line on both the parcels. So tree number 2, as per the arborist report, is going to be cut down because it's high risk as per the arborist. I've been working with Michael Dobbin-Speck, Mr. Rocket, and Retha and Mike on tree number 3 and 4. tree number 1, yes, as per the arborist report, I think we'll be doing some pruning so that we don't have to cut it down as per the arborist report. We don't have to cut the tree down, but I think what arborist report mentioned was some pruning would help help that tree, or structurally at least. But for tree number 3 and 4, I've been working with all the property owners. I've also taken the arborist on site and discussed a couple of different options. So right now, the city hasn't made the determination whether we're gonna put a retaining wall or not. So that depends on our consultant, Consource investigation, geotechnical investigation on how far the current retaining wall is from Michael Dobbins Peck's property. And if we do move the retaining wall, so currently the retaining wall is encroaching on city's property. It's like probably a feet or 2 feet into our property. So if we do move the and the soil on that retaining wall is not fully compacted, and there's a structure, Michael's shed is currently sitting on top of the retaining wall right there, and he's okay, to remove that shed, as he mentioned personally to me, so he's okay with that. So there's so many different things the city would need to consider before they decide to move the retaining wall. So a lot of coordination and discussions would need to happen, and Consor will be helping the city in designing that retaining wall. So I'll be having discussions with the property owners and the arborist once we have a plan in place, and I'll be meeting them in person and making sure everyone's on the same page, and the arborist determines based on that plan whether it's going to impact tree number 3 and 4. Right now, as per the arborist, there's no impact to tree number 3 and 4. And I understand all of the property owners' concern about tree number 3 and 4, but since the city is taking recommendation from the licensed arborist, we can only go with their report. But if anything changes with the new design, then the city would reconsider. Arborists would reconsider based on if the city elected to go with the retaining wall. I don't know, Brian, do you have any thing to add on order issues or any other issues?
No, Mr. Casey, got to swear you in.
Yeah.
Raise your right hand. Do you swear firm, tell the truth, nothing but the truth in this proceeding?
I do.
And for the record, your last name is Casey, is that right?
That's correct. Yes.
Okay, great. Go ahead.
Yeah, on the odor, yeah, there's a lot of different things we can do, and it's never the same solution at a given lift station. So it depends on different things. This being a small lift station, there's a number of things that could be taken care of. Usually we would address that if it continues to be an issue after this kind of upgrade. So I just don't want to make sure there's no guarantees with a wastewater lift station that it will never have odors whatsoever, but there are things that we can do to mitigate that.
So what could you do? I mean, what do you do if there is an odor problem 6 months after it's installed and the neighbors call
Sure.
and complain? How could you respond to that?
There's quite a few different things because the city's taken an approach to basically mitigating, or with odors come corrosion too. So the city's taken an approach where they want to minimize any types of corrosion. One of the options is actually sealing it up with like rubber gaskets and that sort of thing. So typically that could be a challenge because then that keeps the gases within the sewer and can produce greater corrosion, but not a concern with the steps the city's taking here. So that would.
So have you already installed some of these current the proposed lift station in other places? And I mean, do you have any essential history of odor problems with those?
With lift stations?
Yeah, well, with the design that's being proposed for this one, has that been installed someplace else? And have you had any?
Oh, this is a pretty standard design. So this is gonna be 2 pumps down in the wet well. Wells where basically the collection of all the wastewater goes, and then these pumps then got a hatch over the top of it to keep everything contained.
Oh,
No,
okay. So
yeah.
sometimes they do have odor problems, but you can fix them, is what you're saying.
Yep. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Sounds good. All right. Is there anything else, Mr. Casey?
Guggen, did you want to touch on? There was a couple other comments
Yeah.
too.
There's the fence and the piling,
Oh, the
landscape
fence.
buffering.
Yeah, I'll let you take care of the fence, but the piling, vibration, that sort of thing. That option was actually eliminated, taking a different approach here. It was too intrusive for the wetlands. It would have been a major impact to the wetlands to go that route. So fortunately, the city has existing infrastructure that we're able to reuse in this very small site.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, sir.
And regarding the fence,
Yeah.
so the city, based on the space issues, it's such a small lift station. We're putting one of our manholes closer to Retha's property, Mrs. Dotson's property. So that's the primary reason that's driving moving the fence back to their property line, because otherwise we don't have any space, and we need to keep the existing lift station operational during construction. Or we have to tell everyone to stop flushing. That's the only. So that's the primary factor that's driving moving their fence back to their property line. And I'm really sorry about the impacts to their baby plants. I know, you know, how important they are to them. But the city can't find anything, any others, you know, solutions to this issue. There's no space. There are conflicts in the existing, you know, with the existing utilities out there. So that's the primary driving force for moving the fence. But the city would be installing brand new fences all, you know, along the property line on either side. And you know, putting the new fence between Michael and our property, city's property, is another reason we are looking into the retaining wall options or using the existing conditions and just installing the fence at the boundary line. So these are some of the discussions that the city would be making a decision pretty soon, and I'll be discussing all these questions with the property owners and the arborist.
Then there were questions about putting in some landscape buffering between, I think it was the Dotson property,
Yes.
essentially. Yeah.
Yes, thank you. So yes, I've already spoken to Ms. Dotson about that. So we'll be putting some arborvitae that would provide some cover around the generator, which is going to be on the eastern parcel right next to their property. And city can easily do that. They're pretty sturdy plants and pretty easy to maintain.
Okay. And then on the tree issue, there was a concern that removal of some trees could destabilize the other trees. Is that a
Yes.
factor that the arborist is going to consider in his recommendations to you or her?
So thank you for mentioning that. So arborist and I went on site and we spoke in length about this issue, because I've heard from all the property owners about this issue, about the destabilization once you remove one of the trees. The arborist, one of the things that arborist mentioned was most of the tree that we're removing is northeast and west of the existing trees that the property owners are concerned about. Most of our weather, as per the arborist, is coming from south, coming from the south west or southeast. But it's most of our weather, the high winds are actually hitting tree number 3 and 4 first. So that's why he eliminated that risk, and he didn't consider that risk because based on his experience, removing this tree wouldn't have any kind of impact on existing trees 3 and 4. However, again, by looking at retaining wall design, if the city opts for that, he can come on site, he can reevaluate and make a new determination based on, okay, what kind of impacts are we looking at? Now, if the city wants to put a new retaining wall and move the existing retaining wall back to the property line, and also if he can't find any significant impact with the design, he also suggested that he should be called during construction before the contractor do any kind of excavation in that area. So he can actually be on site, take a look at what kind of roots we'll be seeing when we do some excavation to move the retaining wall back. And even then he can make a new determination based on, okay, we're impacting a lot of roots right now. Let's just remove this tree or that tree. So there's so many opportunities for the arborist to be on site and make a determination based on what decision city makes based on the existing retaining wall.
So, and just, I'm not exactly following where the trees are located. Are all these trees we're talking about on the city's property, or does this affect adjoining trees?
So tree number 3 and 4, so tree number 1 is on Mrs. Dobson's property.
Oh, yeah.
Correction.
Tree,
Tree number 1's on city property.
Or someone else's property, that's not ours.
That was put in when the city reclamation, when they did their 94, 96 project. That one's on
let me
your,
see.
one is,
Is it on our property, Brian?
yes.
For somebody else's property, not ours.
Not on the lift station property, but it's this,
Yeah.
yeah.
Undeveloped
So
city property, maybe.
it's probably on the adjacent parcel behind you.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but it was planted by the
um,
city during the project.
So we're already, so the arborist already looked at that. So tree number 1 would be pruned. And that's the mitigation measure that the arborist recommended for that tree. Tree number 2 is partly on city property and partly on Michael Dobbins Speck's property. But it's unstable based on arborist's report and his recommendation that tree needs to come down. And also our fence is going to go right through the tree. But tree number 3 and 4 is the concern that property owners have. And both these trees are on Michael Dobbins Speck's property.
Okay. And will the proposal be destabilizing tree number 2, making it more unstable? Is that one of the concerns, or?
So right now, if we put the fence with all the existing conditions, there's no impact as per the arborist report.
Okay. All right. Okay.
But again, that depends on what kind of decision city makes, and property owners would be involved at every step along with the arborist, so that everyone's on the same page and we all make an educated decision based on all the factors and impacts.
Okay. And then there was a concern about impacts to wildlife. I don't know, Mr. Fant, maybe you could address that. I didn't hear any protected species in there, but.
No, as at least according to the critical areas report and Department of Ecology's review, there's no impact that's anticipated to be proposed to local wildlife. And some of the mitigation measures that take place during construction, such as silt fencing, directing lights away from wildlife, things of that nature, are being implemented to ensure that there is no impact on existing wildlife.
Okay. I'll just go back to the conference room. Any other questions of staff before we wrap it up?
Just the height of the tree.
Oh yeah, I forgot. Thank you. So it's clinometer. That's how they measure the tree, using angles from
Right.
the ground.
And how tall is it?
It's in the report, and I think, what tree are you talking about? Tree number 3 or 4? So tree number 3 is 120 feet in height, and tree number 4 is 110.
And they were measured, that's what you're telling me.
Using clinometer. That's what the
Okay,
arborist
great,
used.
thank
Yeah.
you.
No problem.
Yeah, I guess on the potential landscape buffer, if I make that a condition in the decision? Maybe we could put the site plan up so I can kind of see, you know, where they'd like it and what Mr. Barr thinks about what kind of buffer could be placed there.
Yeah, I could pull that up here. All right, is this popping up for everyone?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so I have it oriented to go along with the cardinal directions here. So we got north side of the site, east, west, south, and then the proposed landscaping at the moment, which is going to be that native wetland restoration area here. These are the proposed areas for planting at the moment. And then I believe Mr. Brar mentioned arborvitae planting as a screening method here.
No.
Or down here by the manhole.
It's just gonna be around the generator.
Oh, okay, okay.
So where is it that the neighbors want the landscaping buffer? Could you point that out on with your cursor?
I believe it's here. Correct me if I'm wrong.
No, I think based on my discussions with Rita, and Rita, if you want to jump in, I think what we discussed was, yeah, after the manhole, go to your east and all around the not here, just go south.
Here.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. Right? Is that correct, Rita?
Right, just kind of make a corner there from the new manhole east to the property line and then down south, like you have there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because our deck is right adjacent to that to the east and almost on that same line there.
Oh, I see. And Mr. Brar, what kind of landscaping could the city put there?
I think just regular arborvitaes. I think they just want like enclosure so that they don't have to see the generator.
Right.
Or
No, what was it? I didn't quite hear what you said. You said regular, what was it?
arborvitae.
Arborvitae? Okay.
Yeah.
All
Is
right.
that correct, Brian? Arborvitae. I think they're sturdy and they grow pretty quick and
Yep.
they're resilient.
That's pretty common for city projects around a generator.
And what is this like, I mean, how many feet of landscaping are we talking about for something like this? A couple of feet, or is it just like a single row of these? I'm not familiar with arborvitae, so I don't know what.
So it's
what
just
that
a
looks
single
like.
row.
Yeah,
They provide a really good cover.
I see.
The good separation.
Okay, okay, sounds good. All right, any comments from anybody before we wrap it up for today? I think we covered everything pretty well. I have a lot to consider there, and I'll be taking, I'll have the hearing transcribed, take a, close look at all the comments and make sure that all the comments are addressed and mitigated to the extent legally that they can be mitigated. And I think we had a good discussion today, so I appreciate everyone's participation, and we'll get that decision out in the next couple of weeks. For those of you who are watching, if you want a copy of the decision, make sure that Mr. Fent has your email address so he can send the decision to you. You'll see what's in there. The decisions are usually very detailed and will cover all the issues that we discussed today. So,
and I should have the sign-in sheet there in the council chambers if you would like to put down your email address.
Okay, perfect. All right, sounds great. Okay, thank you, everybody, and have a great day. We're adjourned.